So here we go. I'm Mark Watson, and we're at the Bristol Hippodrome on a sort of warm Sunday evening in July. A little bit of clapping there. This is not quite the show yet. I'm just going to warm up the crowd. So if you're watching this at home, you've got probably 2 or 3 minutes while I just amuse them. It's sort of not compulsory. Well, I would watch it though. It should be quite fun. This. I'm just looking out for potential characters in the room, and there's one pretty much straight away there. First person to sort of make a play for a place on the DVD. There he is. Too keen, if anything. The woman in front of him not amused in the slightest. But it's too early to see if she's going to be a bad audience member. Could just be a serious person. I'm just observing on the screen here the fact that people do take a long time to sit down, especially if they're towards the front. So we're going to do a little reward for whoever does sit further forward. Next, where we all clap them. I'm obviously going to delete this so that they don't know this trick is coming. It should be pretty fun. Well, ha 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 says it all, really. And they should come in pretty soon. It's not them. That's not far forward enough. You can't tell on the screen there. But pretty soon, I would think they're going to have to just get those people out of the way. But there's some people coming in now who these people are going to sit in the third row by the look of it. So they're the ones that will get surprisingly clapped. Little do they know. Look at the people in the front row checking. Should we clap? Yep. There we go. Off we go. Bloke in the blue sits down, starts to clap himself. No idea what's happening. Chooses gum and hopes for the best. Redhead looks composed. And there we are. A little bit of fun. Told you that'd be fun. Now these people are taking too long to sit down, so I'm just going to tell them off. A lot of comedians like to get at the audience, pick on people during the show, but I find it saves time to do it now. It's also sort of a slightly more cowardly way of doing it. I'm just going to continue to take the mickey out of these people's slowness. I just told him. I predict they'll sit down. He's pointing at me, but he's been done. His own fault. Took him too long to find the car keys. Always makes his wife late, I wouldn't mind betting. So we're filling up quite nicely here, and I'm just letting the audience know what's going to happen. I've unfortunately just compared myself to Christ, which didn't work out very well for John Lennon. Doesn't work out well for a lot of people, but there we go. I didn't say I was better than him, though. So now, see, they've started clapping just a bit too soon there. I want them to clap when I come back, really. So I'm just sort of explaining that again. Unfortunately, I'm stuck kind of now with this Jesus parallel. But it's kind of handy, so I'm going to go off. This time, this should be it. I'm going to go off, disappear into the bowels of the theatre, and then I'm going to start the actual show from a place which I don't think too many people will be expecting. So, yeah, thanks for buying it. Hope you enjoy it. Hello. Bit of fun. I know, yeah. Well, it's... jump. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Sort of tempting in a way, though. Just, awful. Obviously, I would die, but that's the negative side. But the publicity would be absolutely amazing for. Imagine that if it got about. Well, it's amazing. He just literally dies. So hello, here we are. This is the DVD recording. It's just an amazing view here. I can sort of see. I can really see you really well, and yes, once you get past the temptation to jump and take someone out. Because the other thing is, it's possible that if I jumped down, I'd survive, but whoever cushioned the blow would die. And that, for me, is tantalising, because... just jump. Some people might say that in a sort of friendly, bantering way, but she said it with absolute cold hatred in her voice. Just jump. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think what I'm going to do is, have a Pringle. Yeah, no, it's fine. Thanks, man. In a way, I'm not sure if I can eat this because I'm going to be sort of crunching my way all the way through, but still, fine. It's just nice to have it, sort of like a pet almost, I think. I'll just stick it in the jacket pocket. If there are points during the evening when things aren't going very well, I think at least I've got my Pringle. How are you doing all the way up there? Yeah, good. It's odd seeing people sort of in their little individual boxes like that, sort of like an advent calendar. Well, what have I got today on December the 7th? There's a lady in her stripes and so forth, but of course it never is a woman, it's always bloody chocolate. And right up at the top there, give me a cheer. Nice. Sorry? That's your right, I didn't even greet the stalls. Yeah, sorry, it goes without saying, I hate all you fuckers. Sorry, yes, give me a cheer in the bloody stalls! The plan for me here is, I'm going to say, please, well, this will be so spectacular. I'm going to say, please welcome Mark Watson, and then I'll go out the door there and come down the stairs and get sort of down there, and they'll play the music, and this will be pretty amazing, I think. Or I'll jump, but at the moment, I think at the moment I'll just walk down there. So, I'm going to start you clapping. What about if we start it'd be like a Mexican wave? Well, except that everyone involved won't be a twat. If we, I don't know how long it'll even take me to do this, but I expect they'll cut it. It's actually, no, they shouldn't cut it. If we use this on the DVD, let's see exactly how many seconds it takes a man to get from here down to the stage. And if it's not funny, at least people will buy the DVD and say, it was interesting from an athletic point of view. So, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, thank you for this. What are your names? Justin and Lindsay. You don't ever think, if you buy a box, the last thing you think is, I expect at some point he'll be up here. Ladies and... I think we'll prop the door open, actually, just for ease of access. There we go. There we go. Hope they use that. Very few DVDs on the market have someone propping a door open. It's yet another neglected area of entertainment. OK. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the stage, slowly at first, but with increasing... Mark Watson! Just shouting in the middle of all that clapping and whistling. There was someone just sort of like, ah! And I just shouted back at him. And it could have gone on for a long time like that. Who was that? It was him. I don't know if you can see him, but he's got the beard of a man that would be shouting worrying things. In life, not just in comedy. We'll carry this on. Oh, he's up for it. I will not be defeated on my own DVD recording. There we are. I thought maybe I would turn my back. Okay, fine. We'll keep that in mind because we're going to come back and play at least 11 more rounds of that. I mean, that was very nice of you, by the way, that welcome. That's a good sign. I think the importance of the audience cannot be underestimated. I know it's quite sort of nerve-wracking situation probably more for you than me, especially in an occasion like this where you want to sort of have control over the audience. You know, you're sort of the alpha male. A lot of comedians will just start by finding a victim pretty much at random. Where are you from? It doesn't even matter where it's from. Birmingham. Oh, I fucked your mum. Right, purely for the sake of it, you know. I'm the big guy, you go back to Birmingham, kill yourself, doesn't matter, that's comedy. Right, I prefer not to treat the audience like that. I don't think it's appropriate to say things like that. Having said that, of course, it's a DVD. It would be great for me if there was a piece of mind-blowing audience interaction. So it's just possible. Normally there is a prohibition on moving around. Don't go to the toilet, don't go for drinks, don't do anything while the camera's on. I'm perfectly happy, I would rather you were comfortable. So if you get up and go to the toilet and stuff, it's absolutely fine. But I might chase you. So I would love to have, I think it would be the first real chase on a comedy DVD that's on the market. And it would be a great feather in my cap. I bloody love chasing. I'm not even joking. I feel like chasing is one of the most neglected sort of recreational pursuits in life, really. When I was a kid, when I was 4 or 5, one of my favourite things in life was my dad going, I'm a monster, I'm going to chase you. And then it sort of drops off a bit as you get older, really. My dad barely chased me at all once I graduated, which sort of seems like a waste to me. So if I do get the opportunity to chase someone, no doubt about it, I will do it. There were only a few steps separating me from being in the actual audience. Oh, it'd be great. I did that. Again, it still sounds like a joke, but I've been known to chase. On this current tour, I chased someone more than once, in fact. The best one was a 14-year-old kid. It was slightly awkward. I didn't know at the time, the lights are very bright, and they were really glaring in my face, so I couldn't see him. I just saw this blur, and I thought, this will be funny. We'll chase after this. And I went after him, the crowd all cheering, sort of a rush of adrenaline, grabbed the guy, lights came up, and 14-year-old kid. So a bit of paperwork after that show, but not even that has deterred me. I talk fast. It's incredible how fast I talk, and it does almost always lead to hiccups. I'm tempted to ask you for a shock, but there's 1,500 people here. You could probably give me a very good shock indeed. Like, imagine if I said, give me a shock, and you all just steadily started to advance on the stage. That'd be... It's a bit of a dangerous game, that. Give me a shock. A friend of mine, that's how he discovered he was adopted. It cured the hiccups, but he said it was quite a slow weekend after that. If you're a comedian, people are always saying to you, oh, I could never, oh, you're so brave, I could never do that. Someone said to me last year, you must be the bravest man I've ever met. Right, which is absurd. I was not even the bravest person. I wasn't even the bravest man in that conversation. I started talking to this guy, and he himself was like a bungee jump expert, an extreme sportsman. And he had done, you might have heard about this, it's on the news, he did a naked bungee jump in the South Pier in Blackpool for cancer research. I mean, to raise money for cancer. I don't think it actually helps the research if I shouldn't imagine a scientist walks by. Oh, there's this cock! I've got it! I've got the answer! We'd all be naked if it was that easy. But still, that is a remarkable thing. And this guy was saying to me, "Oh, you're so brave." It just goes to show it's a matter of perspective, really. I'd never in a million years go to Blackpool, you know. So, and even among people's jobs, I think this is quite a long way down the list of courageous jobs people do. There are probably people here who are, you know, put out fires or nurses or pretty much all these jobs I think are actually braver than being a comedian. I see these people do. Nurse, for example. I'd be a terrible nurse. I'm much too pessimistic to be a nurse. If I had to give hope to someone, they'd be screwed. We'd all be screwed. If someone was saying to me, "Look, just tell me, honestly, am I dying? I'm going to die," I'd find it very hard not to say, "You do look peaky." That's the sort of expression you're not really allowed to use in the nursing trade. I wouldn't start watching 24. Things like that, you know. Wait for them to make a show called 9. And in general, I've always thought it's good to expect a fairly bad life. And then if you have a sort of average life, you're pretty happy. You know, it's all about managing expectations. I remember coming home from school once, and my dad said, "Would you rather Father Christmas didn't exist, or your mum was dead?" 9 years old, it's a big one. I said, "Right, I'd rather Father Christmas didn't exist." "Right," he said, "good news." There you are, see. Softening the blows of life. I saw a magazine recently. It said, "The 3 sex secrets that will change everything." Well, I mean, that is a big claim. Everything. I'm having lunch with my brother tomorrow. Is that off now? Do I have to call him? "Sorry, mate, I'm going to have to cancel because apparently a blowjob is twice as good with an ice cube in your mouth." I bought the magazine. You know, it goes in the lady's mouth. Anyway, it does. You wouldn't put it in your own mouth. It'd be the same experience, but you'd be sort of just cold and irritable, and you'd be distracted as well. You'd be wandering around. And for the whole time, my mum and dad are both here, so that took amazing courage, by the way. Having said that comedy isn't brave, there are times when you're talking about things like that, and your parents are there, and you think, "Oh, I'd rather be dead." Still, even more mild examples of nearly every day you see something on an advert or a billboard or some sort of slogan, you think, how can you possibly claim that? Film trailers now, I've got to the stage where I almost don't bother watching film trailers because it just tires you out how desperate they are for you to come. I saw this film trailer for this horror film. It said, "You'll never feel safe in your home again." I thought, what the hell? Okay, I won't go and see that then, thank you. Okay, how's that a recommendation? How's the film? "Oh, brilliant. We've had to move out though, unfortunately. The wife just cries herself to sleep all night." And I think it's kind of, it's tiring for all of us, but it's odd to be in a profession like comedy where people are doing this kind of hype all the time. This was not really the job that I envisaged doing. I'm quite a sort of naturally shy person. Never really imagined that I'd become a comedian. The job I wanted, my sort of dream job, what I set out to do was be a sports commentator. And even now, if I'm watching Wimbledon, I'll be sort of commentating. Even in life, in fact, I quite often find myself commentating on just stuff that I see people doing, which is quite useful as a comedian to say stuff that's in your head. As a general human being, it's not that useful a habit to be in. Very often I get in trouble for blurting things out. I once watched a fat man run for a train, for example, and which is, you know, one of life's sort of most exciting 50-50s, and it was really well poised. The guy was running as fast as he could, but it wasn't fast at all. And unfortunately, and I would never normally make fun of fat people, but it wasn't so much his fat. In fact, he wasn't even very fat. He was self-important looking, though. He was a businessman. He carried a big briefcase. He had a big suit on, all unnecessarily. It was the middle of summer. He'd handicapped himself, and he was running with this briefcase, and his face was really like, I'm running so fast. But in fact, his body was barely moving at all. And I was on the train already, by the way. The points were in the bag for me. I couldn't lose. All I had to do was watch. It was really exciting. The guy was, this was at Temple Mead Station. It was only about probably a minute away. In fact, not even that. The guy was as far away from the train as probably I am from that. But the clock was ticking down. His time was running out. It really was going to come down to the final few seconds. And I was really into this. Then a whistle blew, and the guy began to speed up. If you ever want to sort of liven things up at a station, take a whistle. It's amazing. Everything changes. So he then got even still very, very slightly quicker. It was still, and he was sort of this painfully slow run. The train doors were, by now everyone was watching. It wasn't just me. It's just that everyone else was sort of pretending not to. But we were all watching. I was on the edge of my seat. And it came down to the final 10 seconds. The doors started to close, and the guy just sort of hurled himself at the train, and it missed it by not even 3 seconds. The doors shut, and the man pretty much bounced off the doors. And even they probably could have reopened them, but no, it was all over. The train was pulling away. There wasn't another one for 2 hours either. I knew that for a fact. I'd sort of consulted the timetable. I was on my iPhone just to see exactly how exciting this situation was. Oh, there's lots at stake here. And by now, I'd totally forgotten that I was in public. I just felt like I was watching the Olympics. I felt like I was a commentator. And as the train pulled away, just as the doors were closing, I went, "He's missed it! He's missed the train!" And it would be the last thing the guy who heard. "Sorry, just commentating on your life." It's a debilitating habit. The most embarrassing bit of commentating I can remember doing was I was once in a queue for a cash machine, which is probably high up on the list of situations where you're not really meant to say things out loud. And but the guy was taking ages, and I just thought, I'll just have a look at what he's up to. Didn't look at his pin or anything, although it did start 643. And after that, I was very discreet. And then the guy brought his bank balance up, and he was absolutely loaded. I'll never forget it. £32,000. Your balance is 32 grand, just in his bank, just sitting there. I was amazed. I was so amazed. I went, "That's fucking loads." The guy looked around, and then sort of a little bit awkward after that. I had to make out I was talking about, "Oh, there's loads of birds today," or something. I don't think he really went for it. I do spend a lot of my time travelling around. It's part of the job, of course. But the only thing is, obviously, I'm brought into contact with other people quite a lot. I'm on trains pretty much constantly. I wouldn't be amazed if I turned out to be on a train now. And it's quite stressful travelling as much as I do. It's probably a stressful time in the world's history to be travelling. There are security checks everywhere. Everyone's paranoid. I live in London, where people are particularly paranoid. You'll know this if you've been to London. Even now in London, there are announcements on the tube saying, keep an eye on that bag. Don't touch anything that's not, They always say, at this time of maximum security. They have posters saying that on the tube. They sometimes even do announcements at tube stations. At this time of maximum security, we ask you, what do you mean a time of maximum? We're not going to just ease off one day. We're not going to one day go, "Ladies and gentlemen, I think they've gone. Massive mysterious package, shake the fucking thing for all it's worth." And unfortunately, I am the sort of person that naturally seems suspicious. I walk and I hunch over a lot. I'm always glancing around. I've got all the characteristics of someone that might be stopped at security, especially at airports. I'm constantly being stopped at airports. I almost never managed to walk through one of those metal detectors without setting it off. Beep, beep, it's incredible. I could be naked, it wouldn't matter. I wouldn't improve the situation, obviously, no. Anyway, I walked past this thing once, it's in Toronto Airport. It was the one time I've successfully walked through one of these things. And of course, I was walking through, there were cops there with guns and stuff, so I was thinking, here we go, in a moment I'll probably be dead. Walk through, nothing, no beeping, just this amazing silence. I was so pleased, I went, yes, which doesn't help at all, actually. You find it, I would never recommend celebrating as you walk through a security cordon. Really, I've had all sorts of problems at airports. My razor was once confiscated. I had a lovely razor at one time, a Gillette Mach 3, which when I bought it was the best shave you could put on a boast, but it was one hell of a shave. It cost $14.99, and gone, confiscated. The same. I bought it at an airport. It was taken at the same airport. Unbelievable. Never got to shave with it. The guy said, "This is now classed as a potential offensive weapon. You could cut your pilot's throat with this." Right, this is the Gillette Mach 3, I will remind you, the smoothest shave on the market. Right, you can't cut your own throat with the bloody thing. The worst thing that happens to the pilot is he'll look 10 years younger by the time I finished with him. Pointing this out didn't help me either. Once I got to the airport and they said, "You're going to need to update your passport. Your face is too close to the camera." This is there's all sorts of rules for passport photos now. Face can't be too close to the camera. You can't be smiling. They make you take your glasses off in your photo. You can't have a gun, all this sort of thing. And, I realise you have to be vigilant, but even so, face too close to the camera? Really? Am I going to get to a customs one time and they'll say, "It looks a bit like you, except this man's face is enormous. If this was you, you'd be 10 foot tall. We can't have this massive-faced man terrorising our borders." I'm sure you know what it's like, this impulse of what would be the worst possible thing I could do now? It's so tempting sometimes just to do something. Well, you all know the feeling of having your phone in your pocket and think, "I could just chuck this off the bridge now." I won't, but I could. And knowing that you could do something, it's like when I was up there. There was a part of me that I obviously kept making those jokes. Imagine if I jumped. Imagine if I jumped. I didn't think I was going to. But you've all had this feeling, you're up high. "Oh, I could jump. I could jump." I was once nearly late for a train, the opposite situation to watching that man run for a train. These things do come back karmically, and I was now stuck, about to miss this train. I was trapped behind this guy that was walking so slowly with he had his bag. He was just one of these suitcases that for some reason people tow behind them instead of carrying them. That was how we won the war, carrying bags, not towing them. We had to kill a lot of foreigners as well. But still, I do feel that the amount that people drag bags behind them is a sign of the weakened moral fibre of our nation. A lot of things are, really. You see the Kindle advertised, the Kindle, lighter than a paperback. Was that really a serious issue for anyone? I'm knackered, I've been carrying a paperback around all day. For God's sake, the iPod Mini. Thank fuck I don't have to carry that back-breaking iPod around anymore. So this guy was wheeling this suitcase really slowly, and I just couldn't quite get past him. The time was ticking away, couldn't get past him. I was getting more and more agitated, and it just came into my head, I could kick him. I'm not going to, I'm sure I won't, but I could. No one can stop me from kicking him. And once the thought's nested in your head, it becomes I could kick him now. I may kick him. And the more I walked, I was almost a 50-50 chance I might kick him now. I could kick him. I may well kick him. I think I'm going to kick him. And after about 10 yards, I remember thinking, I believe I am going to kick him now. As if it was really out of my hands. Like, what can I do? He's walking there. I've thought of it. I've got to do it. And it carried on for a bit. And in the end, I sort of just kicked the fucker quite hard in the back of his leg. And the guy looked at me as if to say, well, why? And what can I say? There wasn't an answer. All I could say was, I've kicked you. Which was not really an answer, more just a summary of the events. Oh, it's difficult. It's a terrible feeling, you know, when you look in the mirror at night and think, what did I do today? Well, I kicked an old man. I mean, it's not something I pride myself on. I've got a lot of respect for the old, what are they called? The elderly, not the old. How do you feel about the old? Oh, I love them. I've always looked up to, you know, I've got certain role models in my family. My granddad was a real amazing man. Once killed a bear, my granddad, his family's claim to fame, with just his hands. A bit lucky in a way. The bear was looking the other way and he pushed it over a cliff. But so it's more a tactical victory really than brute force. But still, you've still got to think of it. As I say, being a comedian means that I get to sort of talk out loud all the time, which is kind of handy. But it's not really what I was primed to do. Neither of my parents are exactly the sort of person you think would eventually give birth to a comedian. My dad, for example, sort of very quiet man, understates everything. If the house was burning down, my dad would just say, oh, I was enjoying living in that. And pretty much about the end of it. My mum has something I term mum syndrome, where she basically can't tell a story without leaving out some massive detail, without which the story becomes completely incomprehensible. My mum is always coming home, oh, you'll love this, you'll be able to use this on television, I should think. And then she'll tell this enormous sort of story. And then Paul was over there. Of course, oh, you know Janet. No, who's Janet? Anyway, Janet was over there. Story goes on for 10 minutes. And at the end, the punchline will be something like, and in the end, he said, why don't we all get out? And then everyone just sits there in total silence. And then my mum will say, oh, I should have said we were naked in a dinghy. Yeah, definitely say that at the start of the anecdote next time. My dad tends to sort of, has always kind of been the sort of man to play things down and internalise things, which suits me very well, temperamentally. But when I was a teenager, it was a little bit more awkward, probably, when you've got a very sort of quiet dad. I remember driving to school sometimes, listening to what used to be GWR, but that's been put out of its misery, I think. Now, you've got Jack these days, you know how lucky you are. In those days, there was really not a lot of radio you could listen to, and quite often we'd be listening to some song. You know, it's like you're in the car with your dad, he puts a song on, and often a sexually explicit song will play at breakfast time even, because with songs you can get away with it. I remember listening to this song once, and just over and over again, it just went, you probably remember this song, let's get it on, let's get it on. It was really sort of not the Marvin Gaye, let's get it on. That's a sort of romantic classic, whereas this, let's get it on, it's sort of more like a fingering at a bus stop level of romance. Really sort of... It's unpleasant. And it just went on and on. Let's get it on. It's not Craig David, but it's that sort of genre of... people still laughing at that. You really mustn't laugh too much at that. It could make it onto the DVD. This went on for about 2 minutes, and there's very few situations in life worse than just sitting next to your dad in the car while someone goes, let's get it on out there. I just think, please, can this song end, or can we both die? Whatever's easier, really. And eventually it got to the end, let's get it on. There was just this massive silence in the car. And then my dad said, well... getting it on is on the agenda by the sound of it. That was into that. We went to the school in silence after that. It's quite often, my dad is quite a literal-minded person, so he will quite often make no comment on a song, but then just give you sort of a summing up of what you've seen, basically. I remember the first time I heard that song, Hotel California, which, of course, goes on for ages and builds to this suspenseful end. It's like, you can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. And it's like 1 second's pause, and my dad said, strange policy, really. How quickly they would reach saturation point. I don't need an algorithm. And so I've kind of, in a way, defied the odds by, there weren't really any odds, but I've sort of surprised myself, in a way, by being a comedian. Very nerve-wracking, really. For a long time, I used to employ this Welsh accent to basically just disguise. I mean, I did have a sort of natural lilt to my voice, but I used to really go for it, talking in this pronounced Welsh accent. For years, I talked like this. If you go on YouTube, you'll see clips like this. And all this was just because it's so terrifying to do stand-up. No one ever thought that I was pretending, basically, because it's quite a hard accent to feign, or at least a lot of people. Probably around here, everyone can do a Welsh accent. But in general, people are all like, oh, I can't. Oh, a friend of mine used to say, well, I can never do a Welsh accent. If I try and do Welsh, it comes out Pakistani. He said, well, just try harder to master it, Ahmed. He, no talent for accents at all, that kid. True, of course that's not true, this is a joke, but tell you what is true, I thought of that joke, and I was, as always, travelling on a train, and I thought I don't want to forget that joke, I'll write that down on my hand, and so I wrote on my hand just the word Pakistani, thinking, what could possibly go wrong? And I looked across, and this guy next to me was clearly of Asian origin, don't know if he was Pakistani, but he was looking at me, and for a long moment he just sort of stared at me, and I became aware that he thought that I was just going around noting down if I spotted a Pakistani. Yep, there's one. That'll be passed on to the relevant authorities. I should probably, before we go too much further, I should probably find out where people are. I mean, not every last person, but anyone not from the UK? Yes, quite a number. Where? Dublin. So tempted to say Ireland's part of Britain, but I won't do that. People have died for that joke before. I'd like to think I can interact with people from whatever country. South Africans can sometimes be a bit tricky just because there is quite a big difference in accent, and they talk so fast. I mean, I talk fast, but I do enunciate fairly well. Whereas South Africans, South Africa, they're famous for it. The vowels just sort of disappear. And so a word like cigarettes, secrets, it sounds like secrets. Secrets. I was in South Africa, and this guy said, "Give me one of your secrets. Can I have one of your secrets?" Well, I once had a wank in the British Library. Well, that's it. Oh, cigarette. Oh, I should have enunciated. Half of that's true. I've not been to South Africa. A more basic type of mix-up is just, even my name causes mix-up. My name is just a yell. Mark! My name is just, if you've got a one-syllable name. Mark, a number of times in the street, I'll think someone is going, Mark! If someone goes, ah! You think, oh, Mark, these must be friends of mine. Over you go, they stab you. Or someone goes, I'm going to go to the park, I'm going to do some drugs in the park. I imagine that's how people that do drugs talk. I'm going to do some drugs in the park. Again, park, you hear park, Mark! Again, it's a potential stabbing. Or there's one, this girl was going, oh, Jeffrey, I need you inside me, Jeffrey. Again, Mark. Yeah, it sounds similar, really. Sorry, I've just glanced at my Uncle Jeffrey. It's awkward. Hometown shows have some advantages and some disadvantages, it's fair to say. I do spend a lot of my time travelling around. It's part of the job, of course. I've had misfortunes on my travels sometimes. I've been mugged a couple of times since I started living in London, which, again, it's an occupational hazard. I'm often at stations late at night and stuff like that. The first mugging I had, though, and the worst mugging, just in terms of, it still haunts me, it was a very young, not young as in one, but I feel I would have backed myself in that situation. But 14, 15-year-old kid, a teenager, about half my age, this mugger, really, incredible guts, really, for someone. I would never have done that at his age. I was reading books and things. Really talented young mugger. Possible chase. Oh, can't get out! Unbelievable. Have to go around there. Too late. He slunk away. Bollocks. Disappointing. Yeah, looking back, I can learn tactically from that. I didn't realise that was fenced off like I'm some sort of wild animal, which of course I bloody am, a wild chasing animal. Do you see how calmly he walked away? He was never in any danger. He knew what he was doing there. He probably came tonight with a game plan, thinking, I will be chased at some point for sure. We'll do it when he's halfway through this. And also, but on the other hand, a white T-shirt, very risky. He was so visible. And now he's gone, you feel there's still something we could probably do to him. Is it too much to suggest that we all just hide or leave? Imagine if he came back in. I'm sure this must be the room. This was definitely the same room. What? Sit in his seat. We've got cameras in the aisles. Oh, yeah. Where is he? Where was he? Can I get in there in time? Okay. I don't think there's... Can I go all the way? No, I have to come all the way through. This is impossible. Stand up, quickly. This is horrifying. Yes, okay, we're there. Okay. Right. No, don't cover it. Stay calm. Stay as calm as possible. Okay. I've got no idea where the bugger's coming back. I suppose worst case scenario is he has left. What should that be? Like when he comes back in, just total silence and I go boo? That's probably best. Don't know, I haven't done a DVD before. Don't know why. Might be because I've held my career back by fucking chasing people. Are you with him? Is anyone with him? Yeah, you know him? Yeah. Fine. So he won't have left as far as you know? He is coming back. There we are. He's gone to the toilet? Yeah. Fine, okay. Well, that's recorded now for all time. What's his name? Darren. Perfect. I won't lie to you, I've already been here a bit longer than I envisaged. Anyone else that's looking for a piss over that side is absolutely home free now, because not wanting to tell you how to do your job. There he goes, good work from that man. have seen how scared he was. Yeah, oh my God. Barely flinched. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? I mean, you're watching reality being tampered with here. Or they'll use this whole thing, including that last bit, and I'll look like a total tool. Okay. So I got mugged, and anyway, this guy... Funny thing, actually, the guy started mugging me. He said, hang on, aren't you the guy that chased me at the Hippodrome? I said, no, that never happened. I was just at a station in London this time, and this kid just appeared from the shadows. He said, give me all your money. And at first, you just literally couldn't believe it. I've never been mugged before. I was kind of almost pleased, you know, to how this is exciting. At first, you do kind of think, this is exciting, this is like the TV. I didn't think it was going to really develop into a proper mug. Then he brought a knife out, and I thought, that's a shame, the old knife. Typical. That's got my dad's genes in some way. Yeah, it's a shame, actually. My windpipe was cut. And then I started thinking, right, I'm in trouble now. He kept saying, give me all your money, give me all your money. The knife was in my face. People were passing by, but obviously people did not want to get involved in a situation like this. And I started thinking, this is actually horrible. What am I going to do? In a way, it was perfectly obvious what to do. He did keep saying, give me all your money. He talked me through the process very well, to be fair. It was really user-friendly mugging. There's a question now afterwards, how could I have improved this? But I was in a tricky situation because I didn't actually have a lot of money. I just had a fiver. I don't know if you've ever been in this situation where you're just underprepared for mugging, really. I was going through my pockets and I just couldn't find any money. And in the end, I brought out this crappy, shriveled £5 note. I gave it to him, and the guy was visibly disappointed. He said, mate, that's not enough. And I thought, well, not enough? I felt like saying, I'm sorry if you feel I've ripped you off in some way. Any consolation, I'm pretty fucking disappointed with this transaction as well. Not enough, I'm not paying your wage, you're mugging me. They called me mate, the presumption, mate. We're not mates, I'm a victim. We don't chat on Skype and that, remember when I mugged you, smiley face. It wasn't that sort of situation at all. And, ever since then, I've been more nervous. These days, I carry a fake wallet, which I would give someone. I shouldn't really tell you this, I suppose. But if you do mug me, you want the right pocket. The left one is a decoy. And but I'm pretty sure no one in Bristol has ever committed a crime, so it'll be fine. I'm definitely going to walk home along the Gloucester Road, I think. And I've got all sorts of things now. I've got a fake phone. Well, it's not a fake phone, but I've kept on my old phone so that I can give them that. I've got a fake iPod. Which again I produce if someone's giving me a right. There's no actual music on it, just every song is me going, you thieving fucker. I'm going to get bored of listening to that eventually, you know, even with the random shuffle facility. One of the things about being a comedian is you are on your own an awful lot, and you meet people for quite a short space of time, then you never see them again. It's something which does. I mean, sometimes you're sort of grateful to not see them again. I didn't demean you. Sorry, I just think I still got that Pringle. There it is. Straight away, I heard it crunch there. It's going to be a mess. My jacket's going to be not worth looking at by the time this is over. Maybe, I don't know, we could put some Pringle crumbs in as an extra or something, but not practical. We'd only have enough for 3 or 4 DVDs. I'm confident this will sell 6 or 7. The mugging, which I mentioned, the mugging was a sort of a particular low point in my dealings with other people and my travelling around, and basically a low point in my life. But there are quite a few moments, if you travel around enough, where you meet people and think, well, that didn't go at all well. One of them was, and this is something I've mentioned before in this theatre, but I once nearly had sex with a man, basically. I was trying to dress it up as something else, but no, that's what it was. I do have a habit of sometimes over-dramatising things, like I say, oh, I nearly, and in fact, it was nothing of the kind. I mean, I generally do tend to sort of exaggerate my own experiences. I once, we'll come back to the sex with a man, but just to illustrate this, I once claimed to have committed suicide. I once faked my own suicide because I lost to my dad at Connect 4. And it was, it wasn't just a game, it was the Watson Cup, which I'm sure you probably would have seen it if you were British. Yeah, the Watson, someone repeated that, the Watson Cup. That's not even a joke, really, that's what it was called. And it was me against my dad. For years, we played this best of 7 Connect 4 series, and I always lost. This one year, I got to 3-all. And it was a real Andy Murray situation. It was like, everyone was like, will this be the year? I say everyone, no one else knew about this. It was really me and my dad looking back. But at the time, I felt that it was the talk of the nation. And anyway, I lost the 7th game. I don't want to go too technical in case you're not a Connect 4 player, but basically my dad connected 4. And it was over. I was absolutely gutted. I was about 8 years old, and I thought, that is it. I'm too old now to win the Connect 4 Cup. It's never going to happen. I'll never win the Watson Cup. I was devastated. I thought, I need revenge for this defeat. And so, being a slightly old kid, I basically left a note on the kitchen table that said, "I've killed myself because of your superior Connect 4 skills." My parents have still got this note. It comes out every now and again at Christmas. Of course, I was 8 years old. I had no idea how to fake my own death. It didn't really go that well. I left it on the table. I remember thinking, here we go. Oh, they'll be crying in the kitchen now. The police will be out any time now. But in fact, all that happened was my dad just came up the stairs very slowly, the way your dad does, knocked on the door. I said, yes. He said, thought not. Very disappointing suicide attempt that was. So you shouldn't necessarily believe me when I say things like, I once did this, I once did that. But it is true that I was once offered sex by a gentleman. It was here again, it's in Temple Mead Station. A lot of the major episodes of my life have happened in town. Obviously, I grew up in Bristol, so it's not that surprising. But this was a weird one. This guy came up to me and just put his hand very gently on my knee. And there was no one else on the platform. It was just me and this guy. He put his hand there. I sort of thought, well, that's I don't think that's meant to happen. But like with the mugging, there was a sense of disbelief as much as anything. I just thought, I can't, because imagine what it would take, the courage of someone. He put his hand on my, and the guy was a bit older than me. So I thought, well, maybe, the guy's 20 years older than me. Perhaps he knows something that I don't. Perhaps this is actually what you're meant to do if you're on platform 7. And he just left it there for a bit. And a lot of men would have immediately said something like, would you please take your hand on? But I didn't want to. I was just so stunned. I thought, surely this can't last. But it did. We sat there for ages, and his hand was just on my knee. By ages, it was probably only about 10 minutes. It wasn't a whole day. But I didn't get to the stage where people were coming to look. But it was long enough that I started to feel just uncomfortable. And after a bit, I thought, I really should confront this, but as you may have already gathered, I'm not a very aggressive or even a very proactive person. I tend to just let things happen to me a lot. So much so that the most I could do was look at this guy as if to say, your hand is on my knee. And he sort of looked back as if to say, yeah, funny old world, isn't it? And that was it. That was all the progress we made for about 20 minutes. And in the end, just as I was about to say something, or at least I flatter myself, I was about to say something, the guy said, where are you going? Sorry? He said, where are you going? Where are you going tonight? I said, I'm going back to London, which was true. And the guy said, no, you're coming with me. And I thought, well, one of us is wrong here. I'll just check my diary. No, I'm not down to be having sex with you at all. And this is now awkward. And I sort of said, well, I can't really come back with you. Yes, you can, he said. And at this point, most men would have started saying, just go away, just leave me alone. But I just didn't want to do it. I really do just like a quiet life, where I don't sort of upset anyone too badly. So much so, a part of me did think, I could. Yeah, I want to. I'm not gay. I don't think I'd enjoy it very much, but at least we would be out of this awkward situation. And then, of course, your common sense kicks in, and you think, no, you can't just have sex with a man every time there's an awkward situation. It fixed the toaster, but enough's enough. And in the end, it was all right. The situation. By which I dealt with the situation satisfactorily. I don't mean I had the sex, and that would be a real twist in the tale. So we did it, and it was amazing. It was kind of a lesson in just being honest, really. I just lifted the guy's hand off very gently and just walked away. And the guy wasn't sort of aggressive. He just looked disappointed. He looked really upset and hurt. I felt really sorry for him. It reminded me of when I was a kid, and my mum used to say, "Oh, Mark, those big blue eyes, you'll break a few hearts." You know how your mum always has an exaggerated idea of how attractive. She'd say, "Oh, Mark, those big blue eyes. One day a man will try and fuck you at Temple Meads." I never really knew what that phrase meant until then. But in a way, looking back, I don't really blame the man. I have a lifestyle where I'm very often on my own, often in some sort of fairly depressing hotel where you've got your Gideon Bible and your mini bar, which is one of the most sort of disappointing words in language. It's not really a mini bar, it's a fridge. If it was really a mini bar, you'd have sort of tiny little people being sick outside and tiny shit music playing. So as you're travelling around, you quite often do find yourself trying to make friends. I make occasional attempts to make friends when I'm travelling around on trains. Sometimes it goes well. There's the occasional moment of connection with someone where you think, wow, I've made a new friend. I once had a situation where I got chatting to a bloke because it doesn't sound like a conversation opener, but I had a sausage roll in my bag, which I'd bought and then forgotten about. And as a comedian or anyone that travels a lot, there's nothing much better in life than that moment when you rediscover food, which you've forgotten that you had on you. I bought it it was the same day that I bought it. It wasn't sort of, tucked away for 10 years. It wasn't like that Pringle, which I've got a feeling is, they've still got half of it. So I had this sausage roll in my bag, and I was on the train, I'd forgotten about it, I was really hungry, I was there thinking, there's no way of buying food, there's nothing I can do. It was a 4-hour train journey, I knew I would probably die. And then opened the bag, and there was this sausage roll just glinting up at me, and I felt quite emotional looking at it. It was midnight, there was no other way I could get food, I was almost tearing up a bit looking at this sausage roll, thinking, I won't starve, I'm saved. And after about a minute, I realised the guy next to me was looking at me, clearly thinking, what the fuck has he got in that bag? What would he be possibly looking at with such emotion in his eyes? A tiny angel, perhaps? And I thought, I should let him in on the secret. It was a classic moment of male communication. I didn't tell him what was in the bag, and he didn't even ask, but I just angled the bag a little bit so he could have a look inside. And he just had a quick look and then gave me a nod as if to say, yep, she's a beauty. That's absolutely, you'll have no problems with that. And that was a really nice moment, you know. We didn't speak, no words exchanged. We'll never meet again. But for a few moments, we shared something pretty special. Shared the experience, not the sausage roll. He didn't get close to that bugger. That was gone. And things like that are nice. But unfortunately, sometimes you take it too far. You become overconfident. I made a disastrous attempt to chat to someone on a train. Again, it was food. Food's often a good sort of icebreaker. And on this occasion, I had my lunch in my bag, which was a chicken and sweet corn sandwich from Marks and Spencer's. Simply Food. I'm not boasting, but I've got a soft spot for Simply Food. I like this sort of, it's just a brutal, Simply Food. You go in there, you buy Simply Food. I like that. The sock shop, in you go, socks. I think it's nice, it's sort of reassuring. Half the places these days, River Island, it's not. You know, Monsoon, there's not, and so forth. Jigsaw, no, it's a continuous shape. But with Simply Food, you know what you're getting. So I always buy this chicken and sweet corn sandwich. This is one of the few things with which I comfort myself as I'm travelling. And I was about to eat this sandwich. This girl got on the train, sat down next to me, and brought out of her bag the exact same sandwich. Right? Not the same. Wasn't the same actual sandwich, obviously. That'd be it. Not even Darren could pull that off, I reckon. I wasn't. It's gone. She didn't magic it out of my hands, but it was the same brand, same filling, identical sandwich. So I thought, surely this is worth. Well, we've got to acknowledge this. We're both. But it turned out the woman didn't feel that we had to acknowledge it. So I started sort of going. Oh, I didn't want to actually say. I thought I might look like a bit of a weirdo if I said, "You've got the same lunch as me." So I just started making noises, basically, as if to say, "Oh, this is interesting." So the noise that you make to begin a conversation. Nothing from her. Now I'm in trouble. I must have made about 11 of these noises, and unfortunately, it's now too late to back out of this conversation. It wasn't a conversation, it was me going, like a seal. But there was nothing I could do. She was totally blanking me. She just stared. So I was... nothing. And by now, other people on the train had noticed me doing this, and were looking at me as if to say, what's your next move, sucker? I would have left it. At that point, I could still have got out of this situation, but unfortunately, my next thing, I'm not boasting again, but it was a 3-item lunch, and not even a meal deal. I actually spent the money. The next thing was a banana, right? So I was eating this banana, and 2 minutes later, unbelievably, she brought out a banana as well. So now 2 items the same. So it's becoming like a cover version of my lunch, basically. And at this point, I thought, well, surely, this is funny now. Same sandwich, same banana. And again, by now, the noises were really like, I was loud, I even used my banana to sort of point between us. Which, looking back, I don't think that was my best moment in the conversation, really. Anytime you're pointing at someone with a banana, they've got every reason to be suspicious. But I was really trying so hard. I did this, and the banana, nothing. Still nothing from her. And my last thing was a Mars bar, and I could see she has one more thing in her bag. I thought, if she's got a Mars bar as well, and it's a total, bingo, total match, we would have to have sex, basically. I'd never do that. I'd never cheat on my wife, and I think my wife would take a very dim view of it if I did. But there've got to be loopholes, do you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure if I went home and said, bad news, slept with someone else, but exact same lunch, I'm almost sure she'd say you did the right thing. You're right, that was a funny coincidence. And so, I was quite nervous by now. I had my Mars bar, and I thought, she can't have a Mars bar as well. It's just too far-fetched. But it was a chocolate bar. The Mars bar's the biggest bar on the market. We all know that. So I was probably more tense by now than you should be watching someone eat their lunch. She was fishing around in this bag, and she brought it out, and it's hard to believe, even now, a double-decker. I know, what is this, the 80s? I couldn't believe it. And I was so disappointed without thinking about it. I went, a double-decker! If anything, things worsened between us after that. Now she did bloody look at me and she said, yes? I said, nothing, it's just, and I started trying to describe what had happened the way I have to you, but she laughed a lot less, really. And we just sat there in silence for a bit. I got off at the next station in the end. It wasn't my station. I had to walk for 45 minutes. And after things like that, you do think, my God, maybe I shouldn't be travelling. Maybe I shouldn't be interacting with people. Maybe there's something about me that just makes me incapable of just connecting properly with other members of the human race. Sometimes on trains or in any sort of confined public spaces, there will be moments where you think, that didn't go very well. I once was on a train and I was trying to get into this toilet you know, these toilets that it's not really a door, it's just a thing that slides across, and you think you've locked it, but it's a lottery, really. It sort of adds spice to a train journey. And so the door was locked, and there was no reason to think that I could unlock it. But as you'd have gathered, I'm quite a restless person, so I just sort of took it into my head, like, we'll keep trying. So I kept sort of jabbing this button impatiently, and sure enough, it did suddenly judder open. This woman was just there. And it's a really difficult moment. She looked at me as if to say, hello, I hope you die soon. And I sort of looked back as if to say, well, yes, I almost hope so as well. And for about 10 or 15 seconds, I was just sort of frozen. She couldn't reach the button to shut it. Because again, it's not a proper door. There's a button which is some way away from where you are. So both of us were in the worst possible situation, really. And the thing was, from my point of view, she wasn't sitting, but sort of squatting. I can only call it squatting above this toilet. And I was kind of fascinated, really. I mean, I definitely should have backed off. And if it had been normal toilet usage, I would have backed off. But I'd never seen an action quite so unconventional. And it's a bit like the way the Sri Lankans bowl. You think, I'm not sure that's right, but it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. Very few people manage a toilet stroke cricket joke, and rightly so, really. So I was staring at this woman, and obviously various thoughts go through your head. A, why are you doing that? B, I really should leave now. I still haven't, though. That's a shame. But also, there's a time you never really see anyone else go to the toilet, so there was a part of me thinking, is this in fact how it's done? I've been getting it wrong all these years, and what, it's too late to ask my mum now how I use a toilet. I'm 30. So all these thoughts were going through my head. And even now, I probably could have just said, sorry, and just backed off and salvaged the situation just about. But I was so flustered. And I've mentioned already, I do have a habit of just saying things as I see them. And basically, I ended up just saying to this woman, squatting? In this sort of appalled voice, as if I was accusing her of something. And it wasn't really the best end to the conversation. After that, I sort of walked away. But it was a bad moment. In fact, she had to walk past me to get back to her seat on the train as well. She sat in that one quite conventionally, which just goes to show. And of course, things like that are an exception. It's not always. I was kind of lucky with both the woman with the same lunch and the woman on the toilet. It's sort of lucky that they were not aggressive people. There are times on trains, and in any sort of public interaction where you think you're worried by how aggressive people are. I'm constantly seeing on trains and on buses, people just wound up almost to the point where you think they might snap. I mean, I live in London, as I've said, where levels of stress and aggression are quite high. Pretty often, I mean, a lot of people in London just wake up every morning and think, shit, I'm alive. And unfortunately, that does translate to the atmosphere on the streets. London's a great place in some ways, but people are so bloody aggressive. And I was on this train, an underground train, recently, and this man was waiting for someone to give up their seat. This was one of these awkward situations in life. The guy was old, so you meant to give up your seat, but he wasn't that old. And you could see everyone was thinking, now, is he old enough? Or can I legitimately stay in my seat? I'm not sure what the cut-off point is, really. This guy was maybe 60, or probably 65, so he was getting on a bit, but he looked perfectly healthy. And everyone was sort of looking at him and saying, I should probably give you my seat, but pregnant, fine, but old, it's a bit of a grey area. I mean, how old do you think someone should be before you give up their 60, or probably 70, or it's just older than 70? Wow, you're hard to get. You wouldn't give up your fucking seat for anyone. You would go older than 70 before you surrendered your seat. What, 75? If they're actually dead, will you let them be propped up on your seat? Wow. So you reckon even 70 isn't old enough to claim a seat on a... Fair enough. Anyone disagree? 60. There we go. Shame on you. There we are, 60, 70. This guy, I don't know. The guy was probably in his mid-60s. Anyway, there was no doubt that everyone was looking at him thinking, I don't know, mate. I mean, you're quite old, but I've had a tiring day and everything. And so this went on for ages. Everyone was glancing at this guy. The guy wasn't sitting down. They couldn't get a seat. And suddenly, the guy just snapped and said, you going to give me a seat or what? And everyone just, classic British situation, everyone just pretended it wasn't happening. I'm reading the paper, I didn't hear the man, I didn't hear the man, la 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 la. And then the man said, and I won't say the actual word, but he said, I'm an old man, you bunch of... And then the C word, which I've never heard a man that old say it. It was a wonderful moment. I won't say it because it does offend, so even on DVD I'm disinclined to say the C word because for some reason people always think, that's the rudest word, that's the one word you never say, which is probably bollocks. I mean, it's just a bloody word. It's no different from saying frisbee, really. But the context makes an enormous difference. Of course, I had a mix-up in a park once. But you see what I mean? I failed to see really why it's so rude. Even so, there was no doubt on that train, it was the most shocking thing that could possibly exist. But I wasn't that surprised. I see it all the time. I was in a taxi recently. This is probably the time when I've been most scared by another person's aggression. I was in the back of a cab and this taxi driver nearly got in a crash. It wasn't even a crash, just like a scrape with this other taxi. But the guy was furious who was driving my cab, and he wound down the window and he started yelling at this other taxi driver, "Hey, you're gay! Hey, you're gay!" Yeah, you're gay over and over again. You're gay, man. I thought, well, I mean, we don't have enough evidence, really. But still, on you go. You're gay. And then this was bad enough already. But then the guy started saying, I fucked you. Remember? You're gay. I fucked you. I fucked you gay. Eh? I fucked you. And I thought, well, this is becoming quite a muddled argument, really. I mean, A, I do not approve of your homophobic line of abuse. But B, if you're going to do that, to then claim that you've had sex with him yourself, you're really undermining your logical position in the argument. You really are. I thought I wouldn't say this. And that is also already, I'm in the back of the car thinking, oh, I wish you weren't representing me on these roads. Then the guy started looking ahead to the future. He said, I'll fuck your whole family next week. Eh? This is the lamest threat I've ever heard. Next week. Not tomorrow, not even at the weekend, but I'll make time for it at some point next week. It could be Wednesday, it might be nearer Thursday the way my schedule's stacking up, but I will definitely have sex with your whole family at some point if you could get some sandwiches in. So it was almost funny because it was like so stupid and over the top, but still, I was scared. This man's driving me, and you're just in the back of the car thinking, don't kill me, please. And the trouble was, he kept turning to me as well to sort of get vindication. He'd go, I fuck your whole family, and then turning to me and going, hey. And I found myself sort of going, I suppose you might do. Good luck with that. That's going to take some energy. What are you meant to do? Really, one of the things I dislike about my personality is I'm so weak-willed. Well, it's not really weak-willed, it's just pure cowardice. But if someone's angry enough, I will just take their side in these situations. I was in a Little Chef once, and this, that's not a joke, that's part of my life. I'm the last person still doing this. And this guy was furious because he felt that he'd been overcharged. He had been overcharged in the sense that he'd bought food from them. But still, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't the staff's fault. I hate when people bully staff like that. This guy was going, £5 as I came in. £5 for it's like being mugged. You know, I was the only other person who said, mate, it's like being mugged, isn't it, here? And again, I found myself, he was even taking on his accent. Yeah, no, it is like being mugged, yeah. Of course, I was thinking, well, no, as you've heard, I've been mugged. It wasn't a lot like this. It's a rare mugging where you end up with a cheese toastie, to be honest. Be nice, really. But the temptation is always to back down, unfortunately. Very rarely will I confront someone on public transport or in any situation where I think someone, very occasionally I do. Once I was on a train, this guy was sitting next to me playing his music much too loudly and with those crappy little headphones as well, which I don't understand why people, there's no point, if you've got those earphones, in terms of the noise reduction, it's nothing. Everyone can hear everything. It's like, you might as well, if you're going to wear a tiny pair of earphones and play music at full volume, you might as well just stand up and have a wee, but put your hands sort of vaguely in front of you. Don't say, well, you can't actually see it, can you? Right, although again, that has more consequences. So this guy, and the song he was playing, again, this is even worse than this game. I don't know if you remember this song, but this guy was playing this song, it's not even, barely a song. It went, I like to move it. Remember this? I like to move it. You like to move it. I like to move it. Yeah, I like to move it. On and on and on it went. And I was really loud. Ironically, the guy was not moving. He was just absolutely still. I like to move it. I like to move it. I mean, we weren't even moving on the train. The train was stationary, so I was just stuck listening to this. Move it. I like to move it. You can feel your sanity starting to go. And then he had it on repeat as well. So when it finally finished, I thought, what will be next? Perhaps Adele or some other soothing songbird. But no, the same fucking thing again. I like to move it. I like to. And by now I thought, I can't take this anymore. You've made your point. You love moving it. You really do. You must be in motion almost all the time. I'm surprised you can eat your breakfast. You must be jiggling up and down so much. Again, I was looking around. No one else seems to be bothered by it. And suddenly I thought, I can't do this anymore. If I have to listen to this for even 10 seconds more, I'm just going to plunge a knife into my eyes, which would be stupid because I'd still be able to hear it, of course. That's good. I'm blind and irritated now. And I didn't even have a knife. It was a lame threat. It was as lame as the suicide threat. So I thought, no, let's take the more difficult path. I'm going to challenge him. Which sounds grand, like it's like sort of sword fight or something. Wasn't that? I just said to him, excuse me, can you just turn that down a bit? Which is such a simple thing, but it's very scary. The guy said, what? Because of course he couldn't hear me for reasons which are obvious. I said, could you just turn the music down a bit? Long pause. Everyone on the train was looking at me with, again, this very British expression. I'm glad this is being dealt with by you. Someone's going to be punched here. It won't be me, and the music will be turned off. The guy said, there's no law against it, is there? Which I hate it when people do this. People act like arseholes and then go, oh, there's no law against it. Because, of course, there's not actually a law against playing I like to move it until someone wants to die. But it's just, there's an unwritten rule that we don't ruin each other's lives. There's no rule against a lot of things. There's no actual law against me walking up and down the train with irons dangling from my cock, going, irony cock. But once again, I spare people this sort of affront. There's no specific law against me getting a dog and putting soup all over it and then going down the train, wringing it out into people's laps, going, revenge of the soupy dog, right? Soup dog. 2011. why then don't I do this if it's not against the law? Because I'm not a total asshole. I'd rather not ruin people's days, whether or not it's the letter of the law. But I didn't say any of this. I just said, no, fair enough, and got off as quickly as I could. And it's a shame. I mean, you do sort of sometimes wonder where people derive the confidence to be that aggressive. How do people think they can just talk to a stranger like that? I'm always slightly jealous of really confident people. I've never been a particularly confident individual. And you see people, you know, some of the highest achievers, you sometimes get this creepy feeling. They are just the people that are the most aggressive, you know. If you look at some of the people in sport, and boxing is a good example, they're always trash-talking and boasting, but often they're the best boxers. Muhammad Ali, amazing boxer, but he's very boastful. He used to go, I'm so quick, I can put the light off in my bedroom. I'm in bed before it gets dark. Right, which I know anyone can do that, just get a bedside light. Yeah, that's hardly a magical power, that's just a case of a trip to IKEA. And it's not just sort of aggression, I'm just amazed generally at how confident some people are saying things or doing things which I'd never dream of doing. That, you know, just as confident. I saw someone, this is a good example, I saw someone, you know, people get these slogan T-shirts, and it's an incredible gesture because everyone's reading that T-shirt. Whatever you put on your T-shirt, everyone that you meet that day thinks, oh, right, I'll associate that with that man. I saw this guy wearing a T-shirt, and I walked past him, he said, it ain't gonna suck itself, ladies. Right, I know. Yeah, as in, yeah. I know, incredible, like, imagine that being a T-shirt that you would want to wear, but also the arrogance that underpins a T-shirt like that. You know that deep down, that guy thinks there will be a woman one day who thinks, I suppose he's right. Technically, it won't suck, I suppose I better do it then. I've got a friend that every time he sees a woman kneeling down or bending down, he goes, why are you down there? Again, I know, the same, and again, do you think anyone is ever going to go? Logistically, I suppose it would be a smart move, yes, it would certainly be convenient. To be fair, partly maybe I'm constantly surprised by how casual people are, the way they talk about sex and stuff. Some of the stuff people use as excuses to get away with, you know, sexual misdemeanors. I watched this guy, I saw this program about animals, Jeremy Kyle, and sort of the closest thing we have to a wildlife documentary that's also a reality show. And this guy was on, he had like, you know, he had 6 affairs or something, and he said, yeah, I just took this girl back to my place, and Kyle, in his sort of pious way, was telling me, why did you do that? You know what Jeremy Kyle did? Jeremy Kyle gets a lot of credit for stating the bloody obvious. He said, I think it's wrong to have sex with 6 people that aren't your wife, clapping and cheering. And the guy said, I just took this girl back to my place. We was fooling about, you know, and now she's pregnant. And I thought, well, now stop you right there. That's not fooling about. That is impregnating a lady, technically. It's really different. Fooling about is like if you are having a drink, get the cup, put it on your face and go, I'm an aardvark, look at my beaky, I've got a cup for a snout. That's fooling about. No one gets pregnant at the end of that. Unless the practical joke really does go incredibly well, you know. I've got a wife, by the way. Yeah, I've got her fair. No, it was not. In a way, I'd rather not be applauded for it because it implies that it's quite a feat for me to have got a wife. But yes, get one. I did. I got her fair and square. It's all done deal now. And I'll even do that as the wedding ring in case you think I bet he's making it. Of course, the ring doesn't prove anything. You see people all the time with a football shirt with Rooney on the back. It's rarely him. But in this case, it is actually. It is true. I've been caught out so many times by that. I'm constantly baffled by how difficult it is just to get basic things done in life. So we've mentioned briefly, but you try going to the toilet, for example. Very often these, I mean, I'm sure you're all capable of doing it, but it's in an old building like this, they're nicely, clearly labelled men, ladies. In fact, it says gentlemen here, gents, ladies. But more and more, you'll find that it never says men and women anymore. The toilets have always got to have some sort of clever theme, like it'll say bucks and does. And then you're there thinking, I don't, in fact, know. I'm going to have to wait till someone better educated goes in the toilet and then follow them, which has its own pitfalls, of course. I was in one place, in something like super cool place in London, and the toilet said XX and XY, like chromosomes. I know. I was thinking, well, I didn't know I'd have to revise for this wee. I'd have taken different A-levels if I'd realised it was going to have a long-term effect on my pissing career. But, of course, everything is like this nowadays. You can't just buy... I say nowadays, like I'm 31, but even in the time I've been alive, marketing's got more clever and more complicated and difficult. You can't just buy butter now. You've got to choose between you. I can't believe it's not butter. You're butterlicious, utterly butterly. Butter the most, there's one called that. Fuck me, this is a bit like butter. It's been taken off the shelves now, I think. I don't know about you, I can't believe it's not butter. It's been on sale for 20 years now. I'm starting to conquer my disbelief, personally. It might be time to rename it. I am finally prepared to accept that this product is not butter. Brackets, let's all move on, shall we? I do get annoyed by the amount of pressure there is on you to buy stuff. I'm not exactly a Luddite, but I've got a pretty simple phone. I've got a simple computer. I'm not really interested in getting a more advanced computer, or even phone, really. I like my phone. I know what I'm doing with it. I've had really fancy phones in the past. Nearly always something goes wrong. Once I deleted all the numbers from my phone book by accident, just wiped once because of the press of a button. And I normally have like 4 or 5 numbers. They were gone. I had to go to the phone shop, and you know what people like in phone shops. The guy looked, for a start, he looked at the phone with contempt in his eyes, like they always do. He said, "You should upgrade this, mate." But they never stop. Every 3 months, get an upgrade, get the new iPhone, then get the new iPhone 4. You've got a cat, upgrade it, get a lion. Right, it's relentless now. And I've always held out against this. First, the guy said, "It's not even worth mending this, mate. Just get an upgrade." I said, I'd just like the phone mended. Is that so much to ask? Why have all my numbers gone? The guy looked at it for ages. In the end, he said, "Yeah, you've chosen your delete all numbers facility," which cleared up that little mystery. The one question, really, why the fuck have I got a delete all numbers facility? A facility is a playgroup, not something which could ruin my life. Why have you made the phone with the capability of wiping every shred of information? When would you ever use a delete all numbers option? Unless all your friends and family die in the same evening, possibly. Then you wake up the next morning thinking, "Jesus, my life's in tatters. Everyone I know has been wiped off the face of the planet." Still, on the plus side, I can clear the SIM card off nice and quickly now. But it's very hard to stop these people from making you buy stuff. You know, the iPhone is. I've even got an iPhone now alongside my real phone because I had to yield to it. I just couldn't stop them from me. It was like an iPhone. You can do this. You've got your Bluetooth, your 3G. You can watch TV. Apparently, you can watch like 200 TV channels on an iPhone for free. There's a website, which is all quite impressive. But I mean, I don't need that. The guy was quite offended when I said I didn't need it. "Are you not interested in watching TV on your phone?" He said in a hostile way. I said, "No, I've got a TV. You know, I'll watch TV on that. Normally it picks up all the channels. I'm not interested in watching TV on my phone for the same reason I'm not interested in having a shit in my tumble dryer, for example." And that reason is I have separate equipment to do these discrete jobs around the house. That was pretty much the end of the conversation, actually. You have to have tactics for getting out of these conversations. People will bloody bully you forever to buy things, you know. "Are you all right there?" Hate it when they do that in shops. "You okay there? You all right? You all right? You all right?" Especially if you're the only customer. It's relentless. "You all right? No one actually cares if you are all right. Next time someone says in the shop, "You all right?" try saying, "Very lonely." You'll find their interest in your well-being will dry up very quickly after that. But yes, of course, I'm not actually lonely. Got a wife, as I said. Surprising how quickly you sort of get used to it. I never thought I'd be married, really, and everything, but you soon get used to it. There's the occasional argument, but we do all right normally. Compromise is the key to it. I'm sure many of you are in relationships. It's all about compromise. There was one time where she really wanted to go on the London Eye soon after we moved to London, and I wasn't excited by the idea. But she really wanted to, I really didn't. So this is a classic marital situation. What do? You have to compromise. She wanted to go on the London Eye, I didn't. So as a compromise, we went. That's kind of what they mean by compromise makes a relationship work. Keep backing down, the sex will follow. But we've had not too many huge arguments. One of the biggest ones was a stupid one. It was over a toothbrush. My wife has got a fancy, an electric toothbrush. Not that fancy, probably quite common these days. But my one is just whatever you call a normal one, acoustic toothbrush. So there's Anyway, I really wanted to borrow my wife's toothbrush, which I realise is sort of not... I know, but just for one night, not just for the hell of it either. I'd lost mine or something. My wife was appalled. "That's disgusting. That's been in my mouth." And, you know, I sort of... Her mum's here. Can't really finish that joke. I can't stop using everything on that basis, I thought. It was cock, obviously. Oh, dear. It's obviously lovely being married and stuff, and you do kind of... you do wonder sometimes what goes on in other people's relationships. I mean, when you've been married for a certain amount of time as well, people always say it becomes harder to keep things fresh and exciting. We used to live next door to these people. I shouldn't really tell you this, in case it does get on the DVD. But anyway, so they were called the Hendersons. And or I don't know if they were married. He was called Henderson, but I think she took it. Anyway, so they were always doing these sort of sexual role plays that you hear about, but incredibly elaborate. Some of the effort that goes into these things is amazing. They would always be like, you know, a doctor and patient, or, I don't know, teacher and Ofsted inspector or something, you know, always one person in power. Your grades aren't good enough. It's the funding and all this sort of thing. Sometimes it sounded like hours of research have gone into these scenarios. Like, right, I'm a dolphin, you must capture me in this net, but these waters are normally fished by Spain, so there may be EU legislation against you. But just have sex, for God's sake. I've got you. Oh, there'll be fines, there'll be sanctions. And, you know, things like that are kind of cheering, though. It's nice to feel that people manage to keep life exciting. Life's got to be exciting. However, sometimes you might get a bit ground down by it and think, oh, everything's going wrong. I do try and at least sort of see the fun in life. Now and again, there's a moment of life which is pure fun, and it makes up for a lot of things which have gone before. And obviously, travelling around, you do get lonely a lot. You can get sort of a bit disillusioned, as you've heard, with your contact with the rest of the human race. But occasionally there is a moment where you think, I wouldn't have traded that for anything. Probably one of the best things I've seen on my travels is I once saw a man get hit in the face by a pigeon. And it was absolutely, you could not have set it up. It was amazing. And he looked like a real arrogant guy as well. He was a businessman. He had a suit on and he had his phone. He was talking very loudly. This was in Cardiff Central Station, where you've got your indoor and outdoor bits. So this bird had sort of moseyed in. The man was really loud. He was going, get me Tokyo. He just kept saying that. Get me Tokyo. Yeah, Bill, get me Tokyo. And everyone was thinking, just A, shut up. B, they can't get you Tokyo. It's enormous. It can't be done. And all this time that this man had been talking in this self-important way, this bird has sort of gradually hoved into view. And it wasn't just me, I don't think, that had noticed it. In fact, I know it wasn't just me. I was like making eye contact with people, and you could see people thinking, not just me, several of us were looking at each other more and more as the bird came nearer, as if to say, this could be on. Don't you think? I didn't want to jinx it. I almost didn't dare to believe, because you don't believe it can happen. Constantly you'll see birds almost hit people, but it never happens. At the last minute, they always elude each other. And or so you think. And this man was still walking. The bird was still... It had been going on now for a while. They were clearly on a collision course. The bird possibly was thinking, I could take you out. You don't think I can have you, but I could. The man was looking at the bird as if to say, look, one of us sort of has to move out of the way here. With all due respect, I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. You should really... The bird looked back and said, I don't give a shit, mate. I'm a pigeon. This could go all the way to extra time. And the man kept walking. The bird kept... I could almost not look. I was so nervous by now. And sure enough, it happened. The man just kept walking. The bird kept flying. And in the end, and even when they were this close, I thought, it just can't happen. If this happened, you'd see it. You don't see these things, so it can't happen. But it did. The bird just whacked him in the eye. Amazing moment. The guy staggered backwards. People were almost cheering, but they didn't quite dare. He dropped his phone, the batteries came out, he was like wandering around in his eye, and everyone was pretending not to have noticed, but I didn't pretend not to notice. I said, hit by the bird! So there we go, we've had it all, haven't we? Shouting contest, bit of stuff up in the box there, I got a Pringle, chasing. I mean, you couldn't ask for a lot more. I suppose you could have asked for sort of more jokes, but probably not even that. I've done so many jokes. I've taught so fast. That's one thing. I'm well aware that I taught fast. I do believe that when this DVD comes out, there will be very few DVDs on the market that contain so many words. If nothing else, people will be going, was it funny? Not exactly funny, but fuck, he said some words. I'll go, nah, I wanted a DVD full of a man talking, and I've got a DVD full of a man talking. So there you go. It's all about the quantity. Hopefully there's been some quality as well. You've been absolutely lovely. Thanks very much. I'll see you again. Good night.